Greetings, everybody. This is a special edition that we're going to call We're All Orlando. I guess I'm going to start out by telling my own story briefly. I'm going to try and run through it real briefly. My mommy was a high-risk pregnancy, and they gave her diethylstilbestrol. And I was born intersex. Apparently they did a little bit of genital surgery on me to extend my testicles when I was little, and then didn't allow me to be female at all. Well, no, girls don't have penises, and boys only cry when they bleed, and if you need something to cry about, I'll be glad to beat the crap out of you. The girls were all talking about that yesterday, all the local Tucson ladies. Does anybody remember? Yeah, oh yeah, I wasn't going to ramble. I'm sorry. So anyway, I was born in Lakeview, which is Chicago's gayborhood. Not quite as famous as some of the things that went on. And it was more low-key. Probably the most high-profile thing that happened there that was like, gender non-conforming kind of shit was, oh no, there might have been a riot at the alley one. I forget. There's some weird shit going on there, but the weirdest, most high-profile thing that I remember in my neighborhood was when Lenny Bruce and George Carlin got busted at the Gate of Horn for talking dirty. I was only about 4 or 6 or so. I forget when. I think it was 1962, which would make me like 8. I really was on the street from like the time I was a little teeny thing. My mother was pregnant with my sister. In the spring of 1957, she was due in August, and the school, we lived on Berry at 512 Berry, which was just between Sheridan Road and Broadway, and there's Berry Avenue, and then like Pine Grove would come in there, teed in there right where our house was, and the school was like up to Broadway and down a couple of blocks at Melrose, and I was like 2.5, 1957. Yeah, I was only 2.5. And I'd walk my brother and cousins to school and then walk home on my own. And then we moved over to Roscoe Street, and there's a whole pack of kids, little kids, who were running around there all the time. I don't really, I have some pretty vivid memories of some shit that went down like between 6 and 8. I was just real young, crazy stuff we used to do. But I want to talk about like gender nonconformance in the LGBT world. I think LGBT just is not cutting it for me at all. I like quilt bag. What kind of queer are ye? I'm intersex queer. I'm heterosexual and monogamous. I'm also a monotheist and faithful to the Hebrew faith. I was born into I'm a Kohen. And we're born into the Melchizedek order, and we have like a responsibility to the doctrine of love. Our people have been like suffering and dying for the doctrine of love for thousands of years, and I haven't suffered too much in this lifetime. I've suffered a fair bit, and I've suffered a few people back myself. But we're staying focused on the queer world. We had all kinds of queers for neighbors. There was an apartment full of transsexuals right across our backyards with porches and stuff. Our porch faced They used to have like parties, gay parties on the porches. We were only like 3, 5 years old, you know. And the queers, you know, they're all worried about their kids running into some transgender kid in a public school restroom with some of the shit we used to see when we were kids. Oh my God. You know, sex is not a spectator sport for most people. But boy, some shit they do on the back porch there at party time. Um, anyway, moving right along. Um, there's always been violence. You know, I was very pretty when I was young. I wasn't allowed to look the least bit female. I had to keep my hair short and wear boys' clothes, and I had to keep it kind of baggy because I was, you know, I had kind of a girly body, and I wasn't willing to work out and pump iron and stuff. I kind of bulky my, you know, because I did a fair amount of heavy lifting when I was, you know, younger. And did, you know, had manual labor kind of jobs, and lots of buckets of water. Clean fish tanks, uh, hauling them around, and light poles. We did light poles. Fish tank, what was it? Fish tanks, light poles. I don't want to go into my employment history tonight. I'm already up to 6 minutes because I'm going to do some readings. So there's been so much violence against transgender people. I feel guilty sometimes, you know, being able to walk the streets of my neighborhood safely without worrying about a thing. Have people greeting me, hi, how are you? People calling me ma'am and Missy and shit, and just, you know, I mean, I don't pass at all. You know, come on. I don't pass. And I don't care. Because people can see that I have a basically female temperament, and they can understand better being intersexed and being kind of both. And then somebody who's like insisting, well, I'm a woman. And so, okay, cool, you're a woman then. This is what I am. This is how I was born. I'm going to stay this way. That's what God does something about it. That's the way my people are. And I'm a two-spirit. I think I've got general acceptance as a two-spirit person among the Native community, the people that I know. I have very dear friends that are natives, that are living close to the natives, white folk that are living close to the natives. And that's who we are. That's what my friends are. We know, artists and educators who have kind of rejected Judeo-imperialist society and have tried to emulate the more egalitarian tribal culture. You know, consensus ruling. You know, everybody's got to agree or it ain't going to happen. And it works. It works. You know, as long as everybody recognizes that there's, you know, certain codes of conduct that we want to adhere to. Helps to leave guns out of the picture completely. It really does. Guns are really unhealthy for children and living things. I mean, it's worse than war. Well, that's what you make war with is guns. You know, it'd be not, you know, you can't ban them, but like, hey guys, grow out of it already. And quit killing them giraffes. What the fuck are you using giraffes for? I'm sorry, I'm rambling now. I got to check this one out. It looks like a lion mauled a hunter, where they had shot one lion and the lion come up and jumped the hunter when they were taking a trophy picture. That's pretty wild. I have to check out and see if that was like made up but it looks like the lion mauled both the hunter and the person taking the photos, taking the video. Oh yeah, as we're starting to ramble. You know, we're all Orlando. This has been going on forever. When I was in high school, the kids who were studying kung fu, we'll go out on Friday nights looking for beef fags to bash. You know, every time I turn around, there's some. I mean, you know, there's 50 people, 49 people killed on Saturday night, and I, you know, I was in a pretty good mood, and I opened it up, and here's Tommy Clinton putting the. I mean, she did. This girl died on the 9th, but here's the announcement finally on the 14th that a sister in New Orleans got whacked. I'm going to read that article for you, and then there's something about Omar that the world needs to know. You know, I mean, let's put the ISIS shit to rest. This was like serious mentally ill, closeted queer that did that. I mean, it's just like a closeted dude, Muslim queer, which is like totally like. I mean, I'll read it. This is the wording is excellent. What else? There is a bunch of stuff. I hope I'll be able to make it through. I mean, and then I got people hating on me, and managing. You know, this is second prominent prominent transgender person who's been like, you know, gotten to. I mean, not part of it's my fault for bringing her into something without her permission. But anyway, moving right along. We're all Orlando. If you don't fit the heteronormative sex gender binary standards of conduct, the code of attire, you know, your hair ain't right, you got too much stubble on your face, whatever it is that they use for the standards of, like, well, okay, you pass as a woman, and okay, you pass as a man. It's, well, what about me? I'm intersex. I don't pass as either. Give me a break. Oh boy, what's Anunnaki? I gotta introduce myself to them. I don't know what they call them. So, you know, and that's yeah. I put my touch there. This is important. This is important because, like, the sex gender, you know, the gender divide is like totally blurred. And I mean, there are people that are intentionally like pushing it, but then there's people that are like, this is the way we are. Deal with it, you know. And so, like, when you meet somebody and you're not sure, use them and they as it's neutral. That solves a lot of problems, and you just kind of hang back and wait and see how it develops with the person. Well, nowadays, most trans people in public are pretty forthright about it, unless they pass real well and don't want anything to do with anybody else, knowing that they're transgender. Most folks seem to be like open and upfront about it anymore. Okay, well, we're over 10 minutes, so let's get to some reading. Oh, this is so okay. This is just so horrible. Black trans woman Goddess Diamond is the 13th trans person murdered in the U.S. this year. This is posted by Heather Hogan on June 14th, 2016 at 2:41 p.m. Universal Standard Time. It is with a heavy heart that I have to add more sad news onto an already devastating week. 20-year-old black trans woman Goddess Diamond has been found murdered in New Orleans, making her the 13th known trans person killed in the United States this year. The New Orleans Advocate reported the brutal details of her death on June 9th, and though they noted that Goddess does present as a woman on her Facebook page, and though they were corrected about her identity by one of her co-workers the following day, they continue to misname and misgender Goddess throughout their original article and their updates to it. Black trans woman writer Venus Selenite was one of the first to report this as a murder of a trans woman, and has been fiercely advocating for people to pay attention to this horrible crime. This is 5 days before it comes out that a trans woman was killed, and it's just reported as another whack murder in a queer getting murdered in New Orleans. Diamond worked in customer service at Walmart in the French Quarter. Ugh, when did they build a Walmart in the French Quarter? Where's there room for a Walmart in the French Quarter? When I asked her if she identified as a man or a woman, she told me that she would answer to both. But being that she was transitioning, I felt that it was the best to refer to her as a woman, and she agreed. Her co-worker, George Melchar, told the New Orleans Advocate she was very loved and she was very kind. Most trans people, well, no, I'm not going to say it anymore. A lot of them are real shitheads. Melchar said, and that's what makes this more difficult. In addition to losing a friend, we lost an LGBT leader. And you know, this is a nice-looking lady, you know. Beloved, kind leader. These are the words we hear time and again from the friends and families of trans women who have been murdered. Even these women in the ghetto, these women of color in the ghetto. You know, the news would like to report it that there's always drugs and prostitution. It isn't the case. It's not always. But there had been a lot of abusive spouses. That seems to be like the real worst threat to trans women of color in the ghetto is abusive spouses. Okay, so yet trans women continue to be dehumanized and have their personhood and womanhood devalued by nearly universally damaging representation in pop culture, scapegoating political legislation, and even misgendering in their own obituaries and among themselves. You know, why in the world would anybody fake being transgender? This is me. This is how, sorry I'm too masculine for you, to pass as a woman for you, but I just not what I am. I'm intersex. As these violent actions against them continue, so will the justifications for their deaths. If you'd like to help Diamond's family pay for her funeral costs, you can donate to the GoFundMe they've set up. Since this time last year, 21 known trans people have been killed in this country. That's a rate of nearly one murder every other week. Well, that's better than Brazil, where it's almost, several a week. These are the names we know of the trans people who have been murdered in 2016. There's Monica Lira in Austin, Texas, 43 years old. Jasmine Sierra in Bakersfield, California, 52 years old. Caden Clark, she was killed. Caden, I think that was Caden, was killed by the Tempe police, or the Mesa police in Arizona, 24 years old. Maya Young, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 25 years old. DeMarcus Stansberry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 30 years old. Kadari Candace Johnson, Burlington, Iowa, 16. Courtney Yoakum, Los Angeles, California, 32. Shante Thompson, Houston, Texas, 34. Keona Blakeney, Washington, D.C., 22. Reese Walker, Wichita, Kansas, 32. Mercedes Successful, Haines City, Florida, 32. Amos Bede, this is the one that was beaten to death in the homeless encampment in Burlington, Vermont, at 38. And now Goddess Diamond in New Orleans at age 20. I want to leave you with May Ruth's thoughts she posted when Mercedes Successful was found murdered just a few weeks ago. It hurts every single time we hear about another trans woman of color being murdered. It hurts knowing that all of my trans women of color sisters have to fear for their lives just by being themselves. And it just keeps on happening again and again and again. We're not even halfway through the year, and we're currently on pace to pass the number of trans people murdered all of last year in the United States. Rest in peace, Goddess Diamond. Say her name, people. Oh shit, did I close the whole browser? Yes, I did. I had it set up to read a bunch of stuff. Now I gotta find it again. I'm not real well right now. It's cactus pollen season, and I'm like, there's a river of snot rolling down just through here. I can't breathe here, and I got a sinus headache here. My eyeballs feel like they're gonna bug out. So anyway, yeah, I faked the tears a little bit, I guess. No, I didn't fake it. I didn't hold them back. This is what happened. I woke up Sunday morning to it. It's like, wow, look here. A whole bunch of people dead in the gay bar. Oh, I had two gay friends, or two transgender friends. When I got out of college, I was busking on Broadway, and Tonette and Brenda were out there tricking, and they were pretty girls, and I hung out with them when in the hot dog place when we were all taking breaks from. I was busking and they were tricking, and they were. Tony got AIDS and passed away, and Brenda met her. I worked with Brenda later. She got off the street by working with what was her name? God, a place called the Smuggler was one of the old head stores in Old Town. Then she moved up on North Clark Avenue, and I was selling to her, and we had a booth in there in the '90s, and Brenda was working for him, and she met some guy up in Lake Forest that married her, and they lived happily ever after. Oh yeah, we're going to Facebook. I gotta find this again. Shit. Um, I hope I can. It was a piece, a very small piece. Ah, sweet Delilah. Oh, that must be the dog. A dog that passed. Yeah, I guess that one passed. That was a couple of years ago. The Bednars, Molly and Tad, have bloodhounds, and I guess one of them. This is a picture from several years ago. Must be the one that has passed along. The ones I got now are Sugary and I forget the other one's name. I used the wrong litter box in California, in North Carolina. Cal, where is it? Oh, it was on her wall, his wall. Jimbo had it. Um, Mr. Sarah Beth Underwood, James David Underwood is what his preferred name is. Um, he works for the. He works for the state. He works for the University of North Carolina in Asheville. So he's directly impacted on this, but he's a janitor, so he's cool. He's covered. He can go in the men's room. Uh, and he's funny as shit. He's funny. He's real funny, and he's a musician. He I tuba and stuff. And he's old Rainbow. He's been around from the Katua area, Katua region. So the question is, what did our parents do to kill boredom before the internet? Well, I asked my 26 brothers and sisters, and they didn't know either. This is from Appalachian Americans. Jim's real. He's small town. He's small town hillbilly, and proud of it. Uh, we're hearing many Christian leaders say that this tragedy is an opportunity for the church. Question mark, question mark, question mark. The opportunity for the church was to prevent this horrific event in the first place by not inciting hate against LGBT people. Well, can't really blame the Christians on this one. This was the Muslims' fault, but not the Muslim extremists. This is like just the Muslim standard issue position on, the fundamentalist position, and it's not homosexuality so much as anal sex. I think is where it's at with them. And anyway, because that was the imam that spoke in Orlando 2 months ago, was talking about them, the sentence being death. But he was really talking about anal sex and not just same-sex coupling. And definitely, I guess. Come on, where is this thing, Jim? Well, this is kind of weird too. A shooting at a gay church. There was a shooting at a gay nightclub. There are gay churches, Well, this is from So Tagadib. Feeling this shit hard along with everybody else. This is shooting at a gay church and hits close. Well, hey, look, if that's your religion, I ain't in that. I ain't in that. I'm not in that congregation. Partying is one thing, and making a religion out of it. I was talking about this in the other video. It's like, look, I'm intersex, but and more power to you, and I support your right to be what you are, and I support everybody's right to have equal rights. And that's just the way it is. And we're all humans. And there's no race. The struggle is a class struggle. There's all people are created equal. End of discussion. Come on, where is this thing? It was somebody was writing about. What happened was the guy's gay, and they're Afghanis. Well, here's something from an Alex Dark. Earlier today, a friend remarked, "I don't understand the way you're reacting. It's almost like you knew someone in the club." Well, hey, we're all Orlando. If you're queer, you're queer, and if you got to worry about people hating you just for being queer. That's the way it works. Walking down the street queer, somebody beat the crap out of you. Just go, "Oh, I don't like you, look queer." It's like, well, we're all Orlando. Here's the thing you need to understand about every LGBT person in your family, your work, and your circle of friends. We spent most of our lives being aware that we are at risk. When you hear interviewers talking to LGBT folks and they say, "It could have been here, it could have been me," they aren't exaggerating. I don't care how long you've been out, how far down your road to self-acceptance and love you've traveled. We are always aware that we are at some level of risk. Well, I've been, always aware of it anyway, but not, I've been undercover 60, almost 60 years. I was hiding out behind hippie grunts. So anyway, I mean, I was always out in the middle of something, but I wasn't getting it for being queer until I still haven't. In Tucson, it's just like, oh, okay, hi. It's cool. Anyway, where are we? Some level of risk. I'm about as don't give a shit what anyone thinks as anyone you'll ever meet. Well, I'm kind of undercover, not really trying to stick out, which helps. Unless I'm blowing my horn, but then it's like cool. I mean, they see me and then they take money out of their pocket and put it in my case. So anyway, I'm supposed to be. I'm sorry. I won't cop to being mentally ill, but I will cop to being weird. Okay, I got my shit pretty well together. The criteria for mental illness is I've got to be a danger to myself, a danger to others, and not being able to keep myself within reasonable standard of hygiene. Take care of myself. And I get pretty sloppy, but not that bad. And I'm definitely not a danger to myself, except when I get carried and careless. I don't want to go there either. It's Lorelei. Say people say whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and there's been a lot of shit in my life that didn't kill me. Well, anyway, moving right along here. I still do the mental calculation of, okay, that car is just slightly behind us so they can't see, but that truck to my left can see right inside the car. If I kiss Matt in public like he leaned in for on the bike trail the other day, I'm never fully in the moment. Well, if you fucking doing that in a moving car, bitch, never mind. I'm always parsing who is around us and paying attention. Oh, this is the worry about having sex in public, or being affectionate with a same-sex person in public. It's like, hey, shouldn't be doing it in public much anyway. There's a tension that comes with that, a literal tensing of the muscles as embrace for potential danger. For a lot of us, it's become such an automatic reaction that we don't even think about it directly anymore. We just do it. Well, I haven't had anything like that in my life for a long time. So I don't know. I should just let that go and not try to be funny. And then over the last, because then you try to be too funny about it, and then all of a sudden you're a homophobe. Then over the last few years, it started to fade a little. It started to feel like maybe things were getting better. Yeah? Well, that's what brought me out. Was, around 2010, 2011, I realized, well, hey, look, there's all these queer people hanging out with all these straight people, and there doesn't seem to be a problem. And it's like, wow, look at them transgender kids, and it's cool. So here I am. And I've had a wonderful time, and people have been really kind and loving and accepting. People who can't handle it, go away quick and don't bother me. Because they don't care. I never feel any hate on me. Very few times have been anything like, anybody take second notice. Matt came out fairly late during the golden glow of the changing tide. He's never dealt with something like this. It's literally turned him inside out emotionally because all that stuff he read about was just then. Became very much now. For me, I've had some time to adjust to the idea that people hate us enough to kill us. Matthew Shepard was my first real lesson in that. So this weekend, and there must be somebody that got killed. So this weekend was a sudden slap in the face. This weekend was like a word of slap in the face, pal. A reminder that I should never let my guard down. I should never gotten complacent because it could have been us. We're all Orlando, wherever you are. So every LGBT person you know knows what I'm talking about. Those tiny little mental calculations we do over the course of our life add up, and we just got hit with a stark reminder that those simmering concerns, those fears, they probably won't ever go away. We'll never be free of them additionally, now we just got a lesson that expressing our love could result in the deaths of others completely unrelated to us. It's easy to take risks when it's just you and you've made that choice. Now there's this subtext that you could set off someone who kills other people who weren't even involved. And that's just a lot. That's why I'm personally a bit off balance, even though, or because, depending on how you look at it, I live in Texas, a wonderful place to be for if you're queer, I suppose. I live in Texas and was not personally affected by this tragedy. Don't get me wrong, nothing will change. I will still hold my husband's hand in public. I will still kiss him in public. We still go out and attend functions and hold our heads high. But we will be doing those mental calculations for the rest of our lives. Those little PDAs you take for granted with your spouse. They come with huge baggage for us. Every single one of us is an act of defiance with all that entails. So do me a favor, reach out to that LGBT person in your life, friend, coworker, or family. Just let them know you're thinking of them and you love them. That will mean the world to them right now, I promise you. I should probably share that one to my wall. How are we doing on time here? Oh shit, we're over 30 minutes. Should I do a wrap it up and then start another one? This is one of those kind of nights where I just keep doing it. No, let's do a real long one. What the hell? Because we are Orlando. This is when you buy from a small business, you're still supporting a petty capitalist who quite probably exploits workers more intensely than large corporations do because of lax labor, law enforcement, and the difficulty of organizing a small workplace. Thanks for shopping local. Come on, give me a break. That's an interesting fellow, this Wiley Eagle speaker. That's what I need to do is go read that. That was one of the things I was looking for. We'll read that. This was I was talking about this in the other video. As soon as this happened, everybody's, it's the worst shooting in the world and in the U.S. ever. What it was the worst, the biggest single kill, single shooter kill by a long shot. I guess the old record was from the 20s, and it was under 30. And a guy did it with a bomb. So the natives and their allies are like, oh, well, hey, what about Wounded Knee? And a whole mess of other things. Sand Creek, a bunch of shit. And then the black folks pitched in with, some race riots, so the Tulsa riots, who killed a whole mess of people, and mass lynching that went down, over 100 people. I forget how many that was. So they're all comparing. It's like, hey, a bunch of white queers got blown away by a crazy Muslim guy. So what? Let's look at this. And it was going on. It was like really bothering the gay people naturally. It was bothering me too. It was like, hey, apples and oranges here, kids, and we're really disrespecting the dead. This is when I started to mention this was Chloe, the owner of Transgender Politics. She says, I'm going to ban anybody who talks about that politicizes this issue. And she did ban a couple of people that just didn't get the message and made some political postings related to the incident, and bam, they're gone. So anyway, here's Wiley Eagle speaker in the 1 Million Indigenous Facebook group, a really cool group that I found off of Julia Chan's page. I forget. It was Julia Chan and somebody else where I met them in the Transgender Caucus, and they both have groups, Transgender Times, and Julia's is Trans Female Support Group, and that, it's the late bloomer credo. It's like, hey, love everybody equally, and nobody's way of being trans negates anybody else's way of being trans. And we're all humans first. And there are certain common courtesies that humans always give each other so that they get them back. That's that golden rule thing, and it's real easy to uphold on a social level. Um, if you just like keep certain things in mind, like that. First of all, masculinity and femininity are not one or the other. I'm kind of both. It should be obvious to people that I am not a woman and I'm not really a man either. Yes, I've got a penis, but so what? I'm intersex. Get used to it. I did. It took me long enough, but I did. Um, and that's me. I'm not going to be getting any surgeries. And yes, I have a penis. And but that doesn't. Transsexual is. I'm not transsexual. It's totally different. And there's just certain things you don't talk about with them unless they volunteer it. Plain and simple. I don't give a fuck because this is the way I was born, and this is the way I was born. And yeah, I got to take hormones because my chemistry's all messed up. But I ain't getting any surgery. But hey, if you need to get surgery, go get it because I know how crazy, nasty gender dysphoria can be. That's probably the most debilitating birth anomaly. Strange thing to have is I don't want to call it a defect. I just really don't want to call it a defect. It's just one of them quirks of nature. But it's maddening to see yourself as a female when you close your eyes, and then just your senses are saying no, there's a penis there, or I suppose the girls or the trans men, that's no, there's a vagina there. I know that they hate their tits, and it's just like it's really the mixed groups are kind of funny because like here's the youngsters talking about I'm trying to get rid of my tits. And, well, I sure like a pair. No, I'll give you mine. I always like to give you mine. But there's been some really wonderful news where with the youngsters, they're winning in court all over the place. The case of the trans, I should memorize these people's names when I'm talking about them. If I'm going to be some kind of community leader. The case in Virginia over the transgender boy going into the men's room is going to the Supreme Court. It's just all sorts of good news. There was Quebec. Kids can gender themselves down to a certain age, but they have to have their parents' signature. But if a kid, that's the way the law is. If a kid says, "Hey, I'm a girl," and the parents got to go for it. It looks like there's an avenue for the kid to sue the parents if they don't let them. So I think it's time to quit yet. So anyway, back to comparing the Orlando shooting to Wounded Knee and stuff. Here's Wiley Eagle speaker. I truly think that we need to stop sharing the memes that show we suffered a greater mass shooting than Orlando. I find it dismissive and reprehensible that the Orlando shooting was called the worst mass shooting in history. It's an insult to the family of the survivors and indeed to all us Native people. But by comparing, are we not using the same tools and tricks that are still used against us? Have you ever felt good when a non-Native minimizes your tragedy? Whether it's racism, historical inaccuracy, oppression, etc. Well, racism doesn't just happen to you. Your people weren't the only ones the church hurt. The government screws over everyone. I'm sure you've all heard minimizing statements when talking about your negative experiences. Isn't posting those memes the same thing? Doesn't it minimize what happened in Orlando? Would you say that in real life? Well, yeah, 50 were killed in Orlando, but over 200 were killed at Wounded Knee. Can you imagine being a parent of an Orlando victim reading one of these memes? I would be devastated. Let us not give in to oppressive tools and tricks. Let's post loving and supportive things. Let us post about the heroes that saved others in Orlando. Let us pray for the victims of Orlando as we can relate. Oh boy. One person lost her life was the mother of the young man that she saved. Let us focus on this moment, and yes, let us not minimize the killing of our brothers and sisters any longer than with these memes. This is their unfortunate moment. Let us be bigger and stand with them right now because we understand. This was written in love and respect, and I hope it was read that way. Oh, I sure tried, Dion. I hope Matakwe. So back to the one I was trying to find. Someone did a really good piece about the Muslim fellow and like the walking bomb that his family made him into because he was queer. Um, I wish I could find it. It was really brilliantly written and pretty short. Just a few paragraphs, but like right on target about just what kind of person this lateen fellow was. Let's see if we can scroll and find it. Pastor praises Orlando. Oh, this guy pissed me off. Here's Natalie. That's one of Kirk, I have friends like Aletha Johnson and Natalie Hively, or old biker, scooter trash, hippie, deadhead, lot lizard kind of girls. Really harsh, kind of crusty. But here's Natalie. This guy should have been an abortion baby. Hate-filled, ignorant piece of shit. And he isn't even white. This is like a Latino guy. His pastors praise Orlando killings of vile, perverted predators. And then here we got James Wesley Howell. He was caught with 3 assault rifles, high-capacity magazines, and explosives on his way to an LGBT event in Santa Monica. His religion or the ethnic origin of his family has not been mentioned by the media. Well, he's from Indiana, and he's KKK Klanner. He's a Hoosier. Okay, and this is Sister. I don't know if she's native or just lives among them. It's Lori Carter up in Canada. I forget exactly which province. She's like straight north, just about. Dramatic and horrific events always initiate conversations and debates about many things. It drags people from their complacency, makes us sit up and pay attention. But conversations about guns or religion, do they detract from the sadness, from the horror of what was done? I don't think so. I think those conversations need to be had to teach foolish people that religion has nothing to do with it. To also educate, well, in this case it did, but not in the way everybody thinks. This was like a single person set on fire by the way that Islamic families deal with homosexuality. And it's not just restricted to Islamic, something like, I don't know what the numbers are, but they're over, they're just like totally off what normal numbers are for cisgender kids that have like little behavioral problems or something. This is serious stuff when it gets all into homosexuality or transgenderism. And it's all, I don't know about Jews. Well, yeah, I do know about Jews. I got it turned out. And then when, 60 years later, I thought, nope, we don't have any less to do with it now. But that's not a religion there. But even it's like, sorry, this happens. It's, to heterosexuality and cisgenderism is like, yes, the majority of people are that way, but some people aren't. Get used to it. Give us a break. Equal rights, please. I think those kind of, perhaps there's even a tiny possibility that to someone, these kind of conversations, I hope so, we don't need to look at that. We don't need to look at that. There, and here's some of that comparing. Never forget, there's a picture of Timothy McVeigh. This person killed 168 American men, women, and children. He injured 600 more. He perpetrated the worst case of domestic terrorism in United States history. He wasn't black or brown. He wasn't a Hindu or a Muslim or Syrian. He was a white American Christian. Now think on that before you spread your anti-Islamic and anti-people of color bullshit on social media. And this is from somebody who's real conservative. She's that's Veronica Martin. She's not exactly your candy ass liberal. She's a Navy vet, and she's not getting all Islamophobic. It's like it's the individuals. You can't Oh, who was? Yeah, well, that was Rabbi Levine. Um, it's like we can't blame the whole religion for the act of of apportioning individuals. It's like with the Jews. We're not all like that. Uh oh. Okay, well we have a shout out here. Elizabeth Taylor. I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything about her because I don't know her that well. I just know she's a crusty woman. and we have a fuck you shout out. 4 exclamation points. So I said, fuck you! Um, she, and she's getting some fuck yous back. Who used to do? Todd Wasserman liked to do a fuck you call out. Um, That's the dog. No, we're still looking for that. I probably should cut this off. We're probably over. Well, it's 45 minutes. That's more than enough. We're all Orlando. Um, where this all will lead. Um, clearly the majority of people in America are accepting that homosexuality is a valid choice for a lifestyle. Um, they're beginning to learn that transgenderism is something that you're born with, especially us intersex people. And quit carving on us when we're infants. Just leave it the fuck alone and let us grow up. Uh, I guess this is my I'm not a woman, but I'm not a man either. Give me a break on that, please. I'm an intersex person. I'm a trans feminine. So this gets back to what I was, and this is what we'll wrap up with. It's not one or the other. Just because you're someone with a penis doesn't mean that you have to fall in love with somebody with a vagina. Um, and a lot of stuff is like innate. I mean, it's really weird with me because, like, in my mind's eye, well, I'm just like getting ravaged. But my penis always wanted to do. Yeah, it's like I want some of that. It's like put me in there, give me some. Yeah, it's like leave me alone. Um, but just it's sex gender binary is unnatural. If it's rigid, there's got to be some fluidity in ancient cultures and in indigenous cultures. There's a role that people like me play, and we're accepted, we're loved and nurtured. Um, the hate's got to stop. I feel so guilty all the time when my own life is coming together so well, and I'm so well liked in the neighborhood and pretty well liked online for a whack. I mean, I got a lot of wacky friends, but hey, all this hostility toward people who are just like different. That's gotta stop. We need to love each other, folks. Thanks for watching this one. This is pretty long. This is my longest one that I wasn't like stoned and fell asleep or something. Or tripped out on it for 4 hours. Happy day. I love you. Bye bye.